My name is Neev. I'm 16 years old, and I go by him. I think I'd best describe myself as outgoing, passionate, and articulate. That's what I would say. I play piano. I would show you my piano, but I'm on a laptop. I have a brother who's 3 years older than me. His name is Raj, and I think it was in his sophomore year in his ROTC class. A student hit him, like they assaulted him, not just hit him. He ended up getting stitches, numerous stitches. But as a whole, that experience was really bad for him. And I kind of learned a little bit about how violence is viewed in schools. I am very much interested in working out ways that we can fix violence as it refers to students. And that was kind of my first step into it. And then eventually this branched out into the Georgia Youth Justice Coalition, where I learned a lot more about their students. I worked with their students. I spoke at school board meetings. I know people who have gone into cases where, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, the Give Center in Georgia, which is basically a school that is for bad kids. They put these kids in there and then they practically just treat them like they're not human. I think that a student is obviously, we know this is like step one, right, of recognizing what a student is. It's a minor. A student typically in high school is basically transitioning out of puberty. They're learning what they want to do in their life, and we're figuring out what we're doing step by step, right? And a lot of those times, student gets caught up in things, and a lot of things happen. We can't obviously argue for a lot of the more violent things, but I think what we can do is that we can prevent these crimes in a much safer way. Arresting students doesn't really lead to change. I think that restorative justice is a lot more impactful. I think restorative justice can be best explained as a method of providing support to students without directly punishing them, without directly taking away their safety at schools. Punishing a student in the same way that you punish an adult, or by simply arresting them, that doesn't provide them any opportunities to change. By actively choosing to not practice restorative justice, we make it harder for them to change in the future. And then that's when the pipeline really kicks in. They commit one bad action, get punished for it. It keeps going, it keeps repeating. And then there is never really any help for them. It's always just punishing and punishing. I go to a primarily majority minority school. And the problem with that is that a lot of our administrators are not minorities. And when we look at how school dress codes work, how school policy works, school discipline rules work, even like the entire tardy system that we have, there's a lot more leniency with white students, and specifically with Asian students, and this doesn't apply to the same level to Black and Hispanic kids. A lot of us have observed firsthand what these administrators are like. They are really nice people, don't get me wrong, but there is definitely prejudice that lies among their actions, and that is not something that we can deny.
How do you think we can ensure safety in schools while also respecting students' rights?
I think the best way we can do that is by investing in mental health and counseling. We're talking about violence, the most likely way for students to get caught up in the pipeline. And that violence comes from internal problems, that comes from problems at home, that comes from upbringing, that comes from systematic issues, everything, right? And all these things build up. And the way that we tackle these problems at the root is by providing support. How do we provide that support? Mental health. Mental health is a part of restorative justice. As a vehicle of restorative justice, it is, in my opinion, the best example of how we can support students. That sounds like I'm being lenient, but that's the point. We're students. These are kids, right? We need to be understanding. We need to be empathetic. We need to be lenient.